evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Tuesday, December 9th, council meeting. Okay, here we go. Call the meeting to order and ask for approval of the agenda. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
We've been in a couple of meetings already. So yeah, but we'll get up to speed any moment. Okay, first on the agenda, we have public comment. If you would like to make public comment, raise your hand. When you come up to the podium, state your name and mailing address. You have 3 minutes or less, and you must be kind and respectful. Is there anyone that would like to make public comment? Is there anyone online? If you'd raise your hand, please. Nobody? Okay, one last chance. Okay, thanks, everyone. That's very kind and respectful. So next we have a project update on the city hall and the police station. And I think I should let it come on up. And then introduce yourselves and take it away.
My name is Leslie Jones with CEDA Architects and Engineers. I am the project architect on the new city hall and police station.
Jason Bragg, part of the PNC construction team on both the city hall and this project.
Okay, and Tony's not coming?
Tony is not coming.
Okay.
He's on a commute to his house right now.
Okay. Okay. So, take it away.
Thank you for having us here again. It's been a little while since I've been here, so I'm delighted to be back. I walked both of the projects this afternoon, looked at the progress.
When it wasn't raining.
But I'm delighted. It makes me so happy to see how they're coming along and to see these spaces develop and turn into what we planned. So you have in your packet some information. We can go to the next slide, Rusty, the progress photos. So these are of the city hall. And as I said, they're already out of date here. But you can see the exterior, the overbuilds at the gables are complete. There's temporary weather protection on the roof, and today they installed windows. Got all the way around the building. For the dais yesterday. So what you're seeing at the bottom left there, that's gonna be the new council chamber. The canopy at the bottom middle, and then the bottom right, that is the wall that will be at the stairs of the building entry. And what you're looking at there is board formed concrete, so it's board form to acknowledge the site's history and the importance of timber. It being a logging facility in its past, so we wanted to capture that wood, and that will be at that wall and then around the base of the building. Any questions on that progress on City Hall? Okay, so the budget update here. I want to talk for a moment about the percent complete that you see. So on here, this is 34% complete. That is also already kind of out of date. I just got finished reviewing the pay application for work billed in November, and even then, we're already up to 40% complete. But even that lags behind, because that's work that's already been invoiced, so there is a lag here in 3% complete. City Hall, we don't have any new contingency use. It's been going along smoothly. That interior framing is just about complete too. I don't know that I have much more on the City Hall budget update unless there's questions.
Anybody have any questions?
Moving on to police. So police is a little bit further along. They today are installing the cedar shingles on the exterior of the building. On the interior, the painters are finishing up, so they're already installing finishes. There are accent walls, painted accent wall colors in there. They put down 2 floors. Already, casework is set, I believe, to arrive and be installed next week. Windows there are installed. See what I'm missing there. On the bottom right corner is something I just wanted to point out, that thing that looks like a little building. There, that's what we've used for mocking up various conditions. So we built a couple walls, the reason we built more than one is to look at inside corners and outside corners and transitions and use that to make sure everyone understood the install and the sequencing for all of our conditions. So the transitioning between materials, the weatherproofing, the transitions at the eaves to the wall, and we've been working with that, both our envelope consultant and our product manufacturer representative, so that we can make sure we explore all of those before we get them installed on the building. So it has been a pretty wonderful tool. There's a couple windows installed in it, so we use that also for the window installation practices, and then we tested those windows, so sprayed water at them for the specified duration and pressure to make sure that our install was down. It is still on the site, but that may be short-lived. Tony has been conspiring to take it down. He needs the space for site work. Any question on that project? Okay. So the police budget is next, and there are a couple things here I want to point out. Again, the percent complete, this one is showing now at 50%. The payout that I just finished reviewing had us at 60% for work that was already billed in November. The other thing that's been happening, I didn't mention before, is furniture coordination. So on the city hall, that hasn't come through yet in the billing side. They are currently coordinating that and having meetings between Franklin, our furniture provider, and department heads to collect furniture pieces. For the police, that's already happened. So you will see here the FF&E, the furnishing budget. That's the package has been selected and paid for on the police side. The other thing to talk about here is the contingency use. So there is a significant pending contingency use. The ODOT sewer changes is what we call that. And I wanted to just take a moment because it's a sizable number to explain that one. So as we coordinated our ODOT permit, when ODOT came back, they said we needed to use a different method basically to bore under Highway 101. So it had been a direct bore, that was what was originally bid, and they said they needed to do a jack-in bore. So in coordination with our civil engineer and with Public Works, what that ended up meaning is that the line that went under Highway 101 got both longer and deeper. And so there were extra funds involved in that. There were also, once we got down there and started looking more, some things that impacted the route that line took. So there were other utilities that changed its direction. We ran into tree trunks down there that we needed to route around. And so the elevation of that also shifted. There was coordination with Public Works as well to make sure where we put it would work with future projects for water and other things that they had in mind. I believe we also coordinated there with Windsor. That is another engineering firm working on future work for the highway. So that's what was driving that number. That's been something that we've been, working through and exploring for a bit of time to make sure that we were getting that to be as efficient as possible. That said, while it's a hit to our contingency, we still have contingency on the police, so we've not exhausted it. And as we're installing finishes, I feel pretty good about where we are still, because the unknowns, are less since we're nearing the finish line. I will say too, that the amount of construction administration on the police side, we've seen a significant drop, so there's less questions now. It's sort of more smooth rolling, and that one is looking at finishing the building in early spring with some other activities that would go out into, or continue into late spring. So that one really is getting there. Any questions on that? Because that was quite a bit.
Do you think the ODOT is finished? I mean, we've spent the money that we're gonna need for all of those changes.
As far as I know, but I
Yeah.
don't know if that's something.
Yeah, I feel confident of that.
100%.
Yes.
That money spent on the work is done.
It's about to start proceeding with that.
The
Okay, so
work,
right now it's an estimate.
No, it's a, wouldn't call it an estimate. It was more like a bid. So we have the amount of dollars it's gonna take to do the work. So the people who are coming in, we have the dollars from each individual trade who's coming in. So we have to have someone come in, dig a very deep hole. They have to put in shoring in that hole. There's actually a hydraulic system that goes in there that actually pushes a large steel pipe under the building, underneath the highway. So all that's been accounted for.
And the new sewer line that's going across is Windsor Engineering. You mentioned them. They've been contacted about, and it's been discussed, the backbone that's gonna be going through that same area.
yes, that was the coordination with them, to make sure they understood what we were doing, so we get the depth of that right. It's, the reason I say this has been pending a while, the coordination process, I feel, was sufficiently exhaustive. I'm confident in the work, and I know Tony was just able to bring up the schedule so that the actual work is gonna start sooner than anticipated.
And so it's been pending for a while. Is that gonna slow the total timeline at all?
No, it's not.
It's still within the same.
No.
Yeah, I'm still with it.
Yeah,
So you gotta think about the building is running in its own independent timeline as opposed to the highway itself. So we were able to proceed on with the building without having any impacts.
Is there, back at the city hall, is there any issues that are unknown unknowns at this time for things like those sewer tie-ins and the water tie-ins and?
I don't think there's any large, things that were courting or pending right now. I
It's
know
all within the city. limits
Doran
at
did,
times, at City Hall.
uncover a piece of pipe last week that looks like it is asbestos. So he's,
Is that the hole that's in the parking lot? The rectangular hole in the parking lot?
know where that is, do you?
No,
But he's coordinated for someone to pick that up and abate it on the site, so that if that's a minor thing. Other things, in the past several weeks, the bulk of our coordination has been questions about framing. So since they've been working on the roof framing and the interior framing, making sure all of that is coordinated, that's been our focus.
I think we talked about at the beginning, a lot of the stuff that is underground is gonna be where we find our biggest questions. We talked about that contingency usage. So with City Hall, I think there's very limited underground that we have left to do. Not gonna say there's not something there,
Yeah,
but it should be, our risk now is becoming more limited as we go along.
okay.
And both projects have pretty significant, owner contingency used for Pacific Power connections. Can you tell us about that?
I think at the city hall, we talked about that is the, out on Hemlock.
What?
The work out on Hemlock.
Okay, yes.
So that still has fencing around it, is it not? The tie-in's not complete and secured yet? For the vault?
Not yet, they still have to bring in all the transformers and power, so that's just something that we'll progress on.
Is that something that we're still gonna be waiting on a bill to add to
No.
this?
So there's no other contingency use since this report was
No,
prepared?
no. There's been no contingency activity since this report was.
You know, and on the police station itself, up until this, we still had about 70% of the contingency remaining, so. We're keeping still in mind the concept of trying to save the dollars as we go along. This is just one of those really big unfortunate hits that we took to the contingency. So we try to keep that mindset as we go on the city hall and trying to not spend those dollars. So with what's remaining in the police station, we'll limp along as we can before we hit the other contingency that's sitting out there.
There were also some items that we chose to use contingency on that were, when we originally did the budget, they were allocated as owner's fees. The IT and low voltage fees, for example, that was originally allocated as an owner cost. As we started working with the electricians and that got further developed, that was something you'll see came out of contingency too. So we've been able to use the construction contingency to conserve some of that owner.
Other questions?
I think the last thing that we have is the schedule. So synopsis, here I mentioned police station, getting largely wrapped up, driven spring. So there's, the building finishes will be ongoing for a little while, the building system, so the HVAC, and that includes things like, commissioning once everything is installed. That has a little bit more time. I know they're currently working on the HVAC now. For the top one, the city hall, that one, the construction schedule extends out to the summer. We're looking for opportunities if we can push that forward to make that early summer. So the building finishes, again, we have allocated to wrap up in June, so that will be interior work. There is the building system, the yellow line that extends a little further, that is commissioning of those systems. So as we move towards that summer, I think there'll be some coordination on making sure that the season is not impacted, so that the remaining closeout will be confined to the site.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you very much and get it done. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have a public hearing. This is a public hearing on APP 2504, appeal by Michael Shelton. This is a hearing regarding the appeal by Michael Shelton of AA 2502, Sally Knuven, for an administrative appeal of the city's approval of a development permit at 231 East Monroe Street, tax lot 02400, map 51029 BC. Appeal will be reviewed pursuant to Cannon Beach Municipal Code Section 17.18, request for review of decision. I'm going to open the public hearing and ask, does anyone object to this jurisdiction of City Council to hear this appeal at this time? Does any counselor believe he or she has a personal bias to declare? Any counselor believe he or she has a conflict of interest? Has any counselor had any ex parte contact or made a site visit?
Site visit?
Site visit? Is there any additional correspondence? Okay. The appellant applicant has requested to continue the hearing and for an extension of the statutory 120-day deadline for 180 days. Staff recommends granting the request. Is there a motion to continue the hearing?
I move that the hearing be continued to, on May 5th, 2026.
Second?
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Council President Kerr,
Yes.
Counselor Ostrander,
Yes,
Counselor Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. So this hearing will be continued to May 5th, 2026. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have some action items. First is appointment of city committees and board commissions. And first, we have a renewal for the Parks and Community Services for Anita Duber. And Anita is on Zoom, I believe. Okay, Anita, would you like to say anything?
Hello, Mayor and councilors. I just appreciate the opportunity to renew my appointment as a member of the Parks and Community Service Committee.
Anybody have any questions of Anita? Would you like to make a motion?
I move to approve Anita Duber for another term on the Parks and Community Services Committee.
Second?
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Council President Kerr,
Yes.
Counselor Ostrander,
Yes.
Counselor Hammond,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, next on the Parks,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Anita. Next on the Parks and Community Services Committee, we have a vacancy to fill a 4-year term. The applicant is Stacy Benefield, who's in the audience. Would you like to come up and say a few words of wisdom? No. I will say she has experience on the committee. Any questions?
I'll move to appoint Stacy Benefield to the Parks and Community Services Committee beginning immediately.
I second that.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Counselor Ostrander,
Yes.
Counselor Hammond,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Council President Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Congratulations and thank you for re-enlisting.
Thank you guys very much.
Okay, our next vacancy is on the farmer's market and the applicant is Lenore Emery Zeroni. I must say I have an issue with the application because it wasn't completed. The first sheet is done and the second page of the application is not completed. So I would like to be able to approve a completed application, but that's just my thought.
Well, it's possible for her to just complete it and resubmit it.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's obviously a great candidate for this.
Oh, yeah.
Let's have her complete the form.
Yeah. Is she on Zoom? She's not here.
I had her Bob too.
Don't see either one of her.
So if everyone's okay, we'll ask her to complete the second page of the application and then come back to our future meeting.
That makes sense.
We're okay? Okay. You. Okay, and then we have planning commission. We have one vacancy to fill a full 4-year term. And the applicant is Tim Ramey, who is in the audience. Did you want to say anything, Tim? Okay.
Thank you, council, for the opportunity to submit my application for this position. most of you know me reasonably well. And I think my level of engagement, at the planning commission as a citizen, budget committee, DRB, and so on, has been well demonstrated. Probably something I should address. I put something out in writing this summer that I think caused a little blowback. It was regarding ZO 2502. And in that I linked to planning commission members' addresses. And my wife is a really good editor, probably a better human than I am as well. And I didn't have her edit it. I didn't think much about it at the time, but there are those that viewed it as a empty docs or something like that. I didn't see it that way, but I certainly would not want that to be the case. And I personally initiated phone calls or meetings with all planning commission members to apologize. I had no intent to dox. I did have intent to draw the juxtaposition of people in 4,400 square foot houses, and 2,400 square feet will be just fine for those in R2. So I wanted to get that I made that apology last summer, but I wanted to put that kind of on the record because I wasn't proud of how that came down. I'm perhaps a little passionate sometimes about how I feel on some of these issues. But I would pledge to be a very engaged planning commissioner. It would mean that I would have to resign from one of the other committees, and I think budget is important. So I would propose it if appointed, I would resign from the board.
If you may have any questions for Tim?
I guess I'll ask, you have, access to, communicating with a large portion of the community through, a email group.
Yeah.
And that's where some of the concern about, that you addressed tonight. And I think you've been clear that everything you've done has been as a private citizen and not as a member of the two committees you're part of, but still there's people, that have expressed concern about your application. So, do you see your activity with that channel of communication, changing? Do you see a line there between serving as a member of the committee and kind of attacking the committee?
No, a very fair question. I think I would have to not take on issues that were before the planning commission. It wouldn't be real. It wouldn't be right. And so, in some ways, I would have to censor myself or refrain.
Make sure your wife is editing everything.
Yes. She's a really good editor. Yeah, I mean, it sort of cuts both ways. I think, in some ways, I rallied support for things that, the council and others have found, helpful. And I poked a little bit from time to time. I value that role. I'd like to continue that role, but it would not make sense for me to ever really write about something that was before the planning commission, of course.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
That's great.
Okay. And the
Well, I just, no, it's actually,
Well, we're in the discussion stage now.
We're just-
Yeah, so let's start.
And Mr. Ramey was up here, and I guess this is just kind of a comment. I think that, Mr. Ramey and I have agreed to disagree on a lot of things, and that we've come to a general consensus about a lot of things. And I appreciate everything that you do and your input, but there was a pretty large blunder that happened. And, at this time, I feel in a community the size of ours, that sometimes it takes time for those wounds to heal, and I think that we're still in the scouting model process. So that's kind of how I feel on that, but that wound just probably isn't quite healed yet. I would agree with you. I've heard from several planning commissioners who have expressed dismay at the idea of Mr. Ramey serving on the planning commission in light of his apparent lack of respect for those who volunteer their time serving on boards and commissions, as demonstrated by his posting in social media, online publication, accurate housing meeting. Moreover, the council did receive a letter from the chair of the planning commission, expressing his concerns about Mr. Ramey serving on the planning commission. And I think one of the things I pulled from that letter that I think really sums it up, and he cites to Mr. Ramey's, quote, willingness to target individuals rather than focus on the issues at hand, unquote. And I think that's really true. And I will also add that I never got an apology in my time. It was done to me twice, but that's fine. I don't need one. I'm just saying that I think that, it's just not appropriate behavior for a commissioner. And sorry to say it, but I, you know, and we haven't resolved, our consideration. We haven't had an opportunity to resolve the grievance as a council yet, so that hasn't happened.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with Deanna as well, that the wound is fresh, if we want to use that terminology for that, the grievance is taking place, the attack, the email that went out is out there and hasn't really been addressed by council. And I think it signals to the community that we passively approve the actions that took place by appointing Mr. Ramey into another committee. Well, before we even had a chance to discuss the action that took place. And posting on social media.
And I also agree with everything that's been said. I think it's gonna take some time. So, you want a motion? Everybody, are you ready?
I'll just say that I think that, well, Tim handles things very differently from the way I do, and we don't always agree on things. I think that he's a very important voice in this community. And that he's pointed out a few things that after we sit and think about them and look at often numbers, it's like, you know what, he's right. Maybe we still disagree with those things, but I do think he's an important voice in this community that we need to have engaged.
Yes, I would hope that this wouldn't stop your engagement, but I think it's just not the right time for planning commission.
Well, I move to deny Mr. Ramey's appointment to the planning commission at this time. Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call please, Jen.
I guess point of order, do we need to deny it? Or do we just not have a motion to accept?
I think Jody, if she can weigh in, because I know that if we want to appoint them, we need a motion, but I'm not sure about not appointing them.
Jody?
My recommendation is to formally deny it.
Okay,
Thank you.
then we have a motion and a second.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Hay,
No.
Council President Kerr,
Yes, to deny it.
Counselor Ostrander,
Yes.
Counselor Newman,
Yes.
Mayor Now.
Yes. Okay, thank you for coming in and, look forward to you staying on those other two committees. Thank you. Okay, next we have, the Haystack Rock Awareness Program End of the Year Report. Lisa Haviker, our director.
Sorry, some technology issues. So I'm gonna have to do Rod Steve.
That's okay. He's a good viewer.
He's excellent. Thank you, Madam Mayor, councilors, city staff, community members, and part of my team. I was gonna put on the spot to read our mission statement. And I'm going to do it. No, thank you.
Our mission is to correct through innovation, intertidal, quality, the rain garden, and organize national wildlife that facing our rock.
Yay!
You guys can't have that memorized. You should.
I know, they're gonna be the quiz. So for 20 years, HRAP has promoted stewardship, of the environment and to prevent ecosystem degradation and Haystack Rock through education and outreach. The team provides extensive interpretive and education programs on the beach from late winter, February, to fall, end of November, low tides, and also at partnering events. Environmental interpreters and enthusiastic volunteers, community, sorry, I put you on the spot, are available to answer visitor questions, share their knowledge about this amazing marine garden and other topics. Whoops, sorry. I'm doing one too far. So I started the program in 2002. I've included stats from 2002. At the time, we had 45 ships for the entire season. We called them rain out, so for rain, we weren't there. We don't call them that anymore. My team, rain or shine, they're there. We also have fog out. Of course, we don't have fog outs anymore. We canceled one ship for tide too high. Staff 4. Volunteers 48. Volunteer hours for those 45 ships 488, with a total contact of 11,961 people. Now fast forward to 2025, we had 385 ships. 11 ships were canceled, mostly due to the tide was too high and my leadership, lack of staffing. We had a total for the year 25 staff members. That wasn't at one time those for the entire year. We had a core group of 15 volunteers who put in 970 hours, of which our Fish and Wildlife accounted for 420 hours. Our total hours on the beach amounted to 1,652 hours, with 98,128 total contact numbers. So what is our role? That is an excellent question. Everybody thinks we just hang out on the beach. First and foremost, we're not only educators, we're stewards, birders, ecologists, and marine biologists. Secondly, we're community outreach and engagement. We're also animal control. We're environmentalists and photographers. And lastly, first responders, waste management, and hospitality. And hospitality amounts to where should we go? Where should we stay? Where should we eat? Where's the closest bathroom, etc. Next, sorry. Under the education umbrella, we had 24 on-site field trips, 3 virtual field trips. I mentored 2 Pacifica projects. We had 13 participants for our 9th annual summer camp with 6 repeat families. For a total of over 1,800 students educated. Our private tour program, we've been doing it for 10 years. And this past season, I had 32 tours. From 2018 to 2025, we had a total of 336 private tours. Unfortunately, my data for 2015 through 2017, I was unable to locate. So approximate revenue from private tour program went back to general fund for about $34,000. Our private tour program was initiated because we were able to spend a dedicated 90 minutes with that visitor. We've had the same price of $35 per person since we initiated in 2015. So a lot of bang for their buck. Next, part of our community outreach, we did a Brain to Breathe workshop with Cannon Beach Elementary. This year, we'll be doing a seabird workshop with them in January for 3 weeks. So we have the students go out, collect brain debris, and they created a keepsake with their logo. We resined it in the window, and they all the kids who participated used their handprint. Special events, Pop and Welcome, and our 8th annual nudie safari. This past year, I added 2 more costumes to the stable. Next year, we'll add 2 more if I have time. Community outreach, we participated in 12 Days of Earth Day, Wildlife Center of the North Coast Spring Fling, the Astoria Regatta, KMUN Block Party, the Cannon Beach Cottage Tour, the Job Fair at Astoria High School, the History Center. I did a pub and talk this past 12 Days of Earth Day. And of course, we share training with NCLC and their Title Ambassador program. This past season, we did 32 bird rescues for the Wildlife Center of the North Coast with the top rescued seabird, common murre. Our partnerships, I'm not gonna name them all, they're all up there. I think I got all of them. This past season in July, we implemented the water safety data point. Because of how many times we had to tell people about surges, rip currents, etc. So we went ahead and put that on our data sheet so we could keep track. And from July, we had a total of 546 water safety interactions. So it just shows we're doing as much as the life saving program to educate. This past few times, including November and December, we had 150 contacts. And of course, my team volunteered their time to assist. So we're working in partnership with a life-saving program to be out there to educate the public. Okay, in our unusual sightings this year, we have a kingfisher. Actually, we have two, a male and a female. We're not sure if they're gonna nest this year, but they've been feeding regularly in front of the rock. And during low tide, you can see them on the stag of the rock formation. Collecting and interceptions, we have 95 people collecting 132 animals. The top animal, of course, hermit crabs. 251 people harassed 405 animals. Top harassment, obviously poking or squishing anemones. And as you see, if we go back, the corner upper right hand, that gentleman poached bags and bags of mussels, and bags right below that, you can see the area in which he poached, and he was arrested. So our final stats for 2025, as I said previously, 98,128 total contacts. 81,610 thank yous. We had 33 new volunteers, of which I had approximately 10 that actually volunteered this year. These were 33 that went through the background check and said they were willing to volunteer. We had 2,322 tramplers, 398 dogs off leash, and 11 climbers. However, the day after we ended the program, I do know Kennedy PD had to go down and get 2 climbers. So, we have a fully fitted outfitted TV, so now we have roof doors, windshield, back window. And so now my team is happier. Our track will be fixed. As a matter of fact, on the 18th, I'm taking it in, and I was told in 2 weeks' time, it will look brand new. We'll see. One of the things we're keeping track this year, thanks to my communication coordinator, Jenny, our social media. And as we all along our demographics are white women over the age of 65 is our highest demographic. Our Facebook views have increased considerably in the last 28 days. As you can see here, 61%. It's absolutely incredible. And we have 2.7 million views. And of course, everybody comes from the US. So this was our 40th year. Unfortunately, not a lot of effort was put into the celebration. So, we're gonna make the 50th pretty darn good. So I have 10 years to put that together. And then I just want to take a quick moment. One of my volunteers unfortunately was killed this summer. And one of my staff members, her mother, just passed away yesterday. So we'll take a quick moment. And that's it. So I'm ready for the questions. Good job. Thank you. Great presentation.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bore you with pie charts and graphs and
Thank you.
yeah. It's not my style anyway.
It's nice to see your Amazon sitting in a row there.
I had a question, how many, so you had the number of volunteer hours on the beach?
Yeah.
Do you have how many staff hours were on the beach?
I didn't put that, I apologize, I can send it to you tomorrow.
And then, can you also include staff hours that were not on the beach also? Staff time on the beach and staff time not on the beach?
So the team that would only encompass Jenny and myself.
Alright. Alright, and then I had a question, about, the private tours.
Yeah.
It, to me, having been an educator for state parks in the past, it seems like it would reduce overall outreach while putting up a paywall.
It doesn't. So what we discovered when we started the program 10 years ago is that, it was not sustainable for my team or the team at the time to spend more than 20 minutes with visitors. So this opportunity was to allow more time. And we've had many repeat private tour participants that say you should be charging $75 per person. We keep it very minimal. In fact, I have a lot of latitudes and it's been my program for 10 years. To charge, for instance, if I have a family with small children, I'll just charge for the adults and not the children. I also cater to what they want. So for instance, somebody comes in and says, I want a unicorn safari. I'll cater 90 minutes just for that. So the payroll itself really isn't an issue. And most of our private tour participants are from word of mouth, so.
Okay, I've had people approach that we do up in our free public.
Yes.
Intentionally because we attract charges and we've had people come up to us complaining that we attract charges for their tours. That's honestly the reason we started doing our free ones.
I've
Is
never
to
heard
get
that.
away from the paywall. That was just a concern that I had.
Okay,
But I don't know if anyone else has that concern. That's,
well, thank you for bringing that to my attention.
okay.
Anything else?
I don't recall the numbers now, but from 2002 to 2025, there's a drastic difference in the number of staff versus volunteers.
And
And I understand a lot of this, but I want your take on it, that it's been tougher and tougher to get volunteers for the program. But do you have any thoughts about how to encourage that, build the whole volunteer side of it?
change our economy. That's the reality. When I first started in 2002, everybody was retired. And then as those people aged out, then it was, hey, I have to go back into the workforce. So, yeah, change the economy, and I think we'd be back on track, honestly.
So you think your volunteer base now has to work? Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
Well, and it's harder for, and I can say this because I'm older, the younger, generation, they want incentives. They don't want to do things for free. As for all of us, that was our core value, to go out and wanna volunteer for something. That's how we were raised. I don't think this generation.
So do you see that being an ongoing challenge?
Yes, absolutely.
It's a declining volunteer base.
Yeah. And one of the good things about volunteering for the program, I've never put a time limit. So if you could provide 5 hours for the entire year, I'll take that. My team appreciates that, so. It's not a job, they get paid. A volunteer doesn't. And you can't expect a volunteer to do their job.
Well, and I think in this community, every nonprofit is filling.
All of us, yeah.
And some of your volunteers came from Portland too, and then the gas is much more expensive.
Exactly.
You know, so it becomes an expense for those who, you know, can't pay.
Yeah, okay.
For housing issue, I think it's all.
You had, you know, you had a whole group of people that lost all their retirement in the housing market when the stock market crashed. And so they do have some. Hopefully through Generation X, we can at least fill that, so it'll last for a few years, some more volunteering will come out of this next generation.
Oh, any other questions? Well, Lisa, I'd like to thank you for
Thank you.
taking leadership and having a friendly, cohesive group of people to work with. And they're gonna memorize that mission statement.
And practice doing it all.
Yeah, exactly. Anytime I see you, but it's. You're gonna be.
Try it again.
No, we'll give them a little.
Can you do it without it being up there?
Not tonight. Thank you guys. Thank you. Good summer. Oh, yeah, so I did purchase stickers out of my personal pocket, and they're not worth our $50.
Thank you.
We better go to money collectors.
That's right.
We only have one for a year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay, next we have resolution 2529. And, yeah, and Chris. comes up.
We had a little bad.
I told.
I won.
All right, good evening, Mayor Knopf and members of the council. Chris and I are here. Essentially, we're talking about 3 resolutions. First resolution is to the authorizing loan from the Special Public Works Fund by entering into a finance contract with the Oregon Infrastructure Finance Authority. So essentially, this is from what we had discussed in the past. This is actually the loan for the backbone. This was originally designed to be 7.2 million. That is what the paperwork from Business Oregon is. Now, what we've had in our bids, which Chris will talk about here in a second, is significantly lower than that. And with this loan, it is essentially a reimbursement. So when we spend it, we get the money back. So if we don't have to spend it, we don't have to draw down that money. So we don't have to actually, the end result will not be 7.2 million. But that is the authorization here. And are there any questions with regards to the first resolution?
Questions?
I think I had a follow-up conversation after the conversation with if you, I think you forwarded the
Email.
email to
Mhm.
everyone about the questions that I had. I should probably forward that, be part of the record, to meeting.
I haven't
Is that
posted
part of
that
the-
additional.
I think it's corresponding.
Yeah, I didn't put it on the website, but it's in the couple.
It isn't, okay. Very cool. The question, the follow-up question. I guess it's 2 questions, back at, might be for Chris actually, or historically for Ken possibly. It seems like Windsor Engineering, they're getting, there are 3 line items that they're receiving within the bid documents. They're the bid management, the financial management, and the construction management of these. How did Windsor end up in a situation where they seem to be kind of the only? There's the bid process for them to be receiving, like these are significant dollar figures that are going to Windsor for these projects. It seems like they're the sole benefactor for managing this contract, when my understanding was the city hired a former counselor to manage these. Mike Benefield was hired to manage the stuff, how does his role play? I guess this is like 3 or 4 questions. It was just things that were asked from public, things that I noticed that I'm like confused about, I guess, about the whole process for Windsor Engineering creating the bid, then receiving money from this, and then no bids going, no. When did that process happen for Windsor to get, I guess that's the first question. When did that process happen for Windsor to be the sole getting all of this money to put this together?
Well, I think I'll take a stab at it. I believe that Windsor, we actually went out for contracts for the separate phases to help do this. So I think that we had done a separate bid for them and had them under contract, and that is what is now part of this contract. So that's what I believe happened.
That's my understanding as well, is there was an RFP process that occurred, where multiple engineers submitted, for, the various phases, and Windsor was selected.
Okay, so this is something that was selected before we began all the water resiliency projects.
I don't know if it was specifically before all the water resiliency or during those earlier.
But for the water.
Correct, before this actual phase.
Okay. And then I guess the other like, major question is what is the Mike Bedfield's position? What is he do? I thought he was contract management for getting this done.
He's essentially our on-staff project manager, but we have a higher level. So he'd be similar to the position that Rusty has with regards to the city hall and police station. So he's kind of our person on the ground. And then we have CETA that helps us in that. So it's very similar type of work that we do.
Okay. Anyway, that's kind of, I guess I haven't thought all the way through.
That's the 2 questions.
Are you sure?
Who knows?
Other questions?
When Windsor was awarded the RFP, was that to cover all phases?
I do not know directly offhand, Councilor Hammond.
I think it each phase individually, so I think there were 3 different RFPs that went out, one for their RFQs, one for each phase.
Okay, but they were all awarded, that was before Eric and I were on council, correct? It would have been.
Yeah, 'cause I think this is the first loan or one we've done with you guys, that's been on cancel, but they did apply for each phase. Separate.
Okay, and then Eric, you addressed construction management, correct?
Yeah, that's because they did 10% of the bid costs.
And then you've got in this alternative spreadsheet that you sent, Chris, there's something in here for other, it's for 15,000. Kind of curious what that is, and funding management for 130,000. Who is that being paid to and why?
The 15,000 that we put in there for other, I consulted with my team and asked a couple of questions today in terms of, do we have what we think, because the majority of it is the current responsive low bidder, which is Tapney, and then Windsor Engineers is the construction management and the funding management portion. So you're correct in that the funding management, 130, that's for Windsor as well. And I have their scope of work here and assigned PSA. The 15,000 that we put in other, that would cover things like on our side that the city should have. So if we need to hire an arborist, on the backbone project, if we're going close to a couple of trees, so we need to hire the arborist in order to do an evaluation. If we have to hire a tree or pruning service in order for that to occur. Likewise, as discussed with the team today, we're bringing this water line, through the recycling center. And if potentially we need to close the recycling center for a couple of days, we may need to rent, or have temporary recycling facilities, elsewhere. So we've really thrown some dollars in there because they're not unknowns like project contingency is. We know that there's some scope there that could occur. So that's what that happens.
Okay, so that 15,000 is potential future costs the city could incur.
Correct.
The 130 and the 654 that are in that document you sent. So that's our one, that's.
Windsor's cost, yeah, as executed in this PSA that I found today. And all of their detailed scope items for each of those things is called out, so that's something I can provide council.
I'm confused, so Windsor has the financial management line item. What is that for? Is that for them to bill us?
They help us put together the packets to be able to send to Business Oregon. So they go through and make sure that they've met all the Business Oregon requirements, et cetera. And then we take the packet, sign it, go to send it down to get reimbursed from Business Oregon.
So they're basically doing our accounting process because they know. For my group to be able to say, yes, that specifically would meet the Business Oregon group, we You
would
never
not.
get that submitted, yeah, I get it, okay, thank you.
So this resolution, it's just for us to enter into an agreement with Business Oregon.
Correct.
For 7.1 million, so we know we've got the money to complete this project if we have to borrow it all from them.
Correct.
We do borrow it and begin incurring finance charges only as we go.
Only as we go. That is one part I forgot to say. So that as we go, we take the money and then whatever that drawdown is, we will begin paying 4.12% on that drawdown. Once the project is closed, right, we've done, everybody signed off, whatever that balance then Business Oregon sells a bond, and then that becomes what our actual allocation will be for the long term.
And the term,
It'd be 30 years. It's similar to
Yeah.
if we were to go out and do our own bond. And over that period of time, because we may have a lot of other utility projects that may make more sense at that point in time for us to actually do it. But at this point in time, this is how this would work.
and at this point, though, although we're gonna have 7.1 million available,
Right.
we're really looking more like 4.4, is that what you said?
That's my current, projected cost that I think this project can come in.
Yeah.
And nothing here would prevent us from, say, using part of reserve funds to even lower borrowing costs if we decided we wanted to.
No, absolutely. Yes, that is correct. You could, if you decide, particularly once we get to the point of project closure and we're ready to move on to the next stage, then we can determine what we're going to do with regards to that. Because at that point in time, we could pay off the whole loan if we wanted, or we could pay off part of the loan and then they would only finance whatever was still outstanding.
Okay, so then, within the document, section 1 key terms, the maturity date, the 3 years is just our draw period,
3
correct?
years is just our drop period, correct?
And so then we're not, during the 3 years, we're not obligated to start paying back, the payback starts whenever the project is fully complete or at 3 years.
When the project is fully complete, everything is signed off and then they sell the bonds, that's when the
That's when we
payback
start.
starts.
So we don't make any payments until the project is complete.
Correct.
So on those draws, we aren't making payments on those draws.
We are not making payments
Is
on the
interest
draws.
accruing on that?
Interest is accruing on those draws at at the amount of the draw, for the draw for 4.12%.
Any other questions on this resolution? Because there's more to come.
I will move to adopt the resolution and approve the signature card for the purpose of authorizing a loan from the special public works funds.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call please, Jen.
Council President Kerr.
Yes.
Councilor Ostrander.
Yes.
Councilor Hammond.
Yes.
Councilor Hayes.
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay.
And I'll let Chris take 2.
feel like the other ones should be easier down there.
All right, I'll go ahead and get started. So a little bit of background, like we have already discussed, this is phase 3A, which is the last of the water resiliency projects. So this will be funded by the favorable loan that we just discussed. And an estimated value for the construction portion was estimated near $5.9 million. We advertised invitations to bid for the construction portion of this phase on October 20th, 2025. And the city received 4 bids on November 20th, 2025, and they were opened during a public meeting at Temp City Hall. The apparent low bidder is Tapani from Battleground with a bid amount of $3,330,333. In accordance with the city ordinance, the city council must authorize contract awards for construction projects of this dollar amount. This project is expected to be completed by July 1, 2026. Recommendation, the staff recommends council to authorize staff to award the contract. And then there's a suggested motion in front of you.
Tawani was the contractor that did the excavation for City Hall, right?
Oh, I don't know that.
No, they already, that was Big River.
Oh, Big River,
Okay, River.
But Tapani did do some previous work for the city, correct?
Yeah, it's brave, the backbone. Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. I knew the city made sense.
So they're familiar
What like the layout. So their bid's probably accurate, since they've done work here.
I move to approve the contract award to Tapani Inc. for the water resiliency phase 3A backbone pipeline project.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call please, Jen.
Counselor Ostrander,
Yes.
Counselor Hannah,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Council President Kirk,
Yes.
Mayor Dow.
Yes. CWT, sir, Chris?
Okay, all right, third one, this one here, now we actually need legal appropriate, or legal authority to be able to spend the money. So what our budget law allows us to do is if something happens in a year in which you had not necessarily planned for instance, a bond or a loan, grant, etc., then you can do a resolution and add that appropriation. So that's essentially what this resolution does. Of course, because of the way our funds are set up, I have to do it both in the water fund and the water reserve fund. Those will go away with the 26-27 budget, but and the reason that we are appropriating the full loan amount is that's just because essentially we can, so that gives us all the appropriation we need, even though that is not what is actually going to be spent. But that is what, that gives us the legal appropriation, and then we'll go from there. And I'll open it up for questions.
So based on the numbers we received, we know we're not spending. What happens in our budget when we get to the end of the year, no, we're not gonna spend this? Is there like a ghost ending fund balance that this money sits in?
It would not, because what would happen is we have a budget, so we essentially just have appropriation authority. And since there would be no actual transactions in there for that amount of money, it just goes away. So from a budgetary standpoint, it goes away, won't be any ghosts, ending fund balances. The ending fund balance in these funds would only be, well, essentially will net. Because we will spend the money in the water reserve, and then we'll have an incoming from business origin.
Okay.
So will you move the money similar to the way you get it in business origin?
Say that
Will
again.
you aren't gonna move one lump sum of money? or-
No, so this,
Move it as,
as we get, so as I get so what has to happen, because the way we set up our funds currently is I have to bring it into the water fund, transfer it from the water fund to the water reserve fund, which is actually where we spend it out of. So as we spend it out of the water reserve fund, I will bill Business Oregon, they'll send us a check, it'll come into the water reserve, and then it'll go fill back up the money in the water reserve. And that's it, so we never, only after we spend do we actually claim.
I move to approve resolution 2530 for the purpose of approving increases to the fiscal year 25-26 budget by making an interfund transfer of appropriations in the water and water reserve fund for the purpose of funding the water resiliency backbone project.
Second,
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Counselor Hammond,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes,
yes.
Council President Kern,
Yes.
Counselor Ostrander,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay,
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
okay, next we have a discussion item on the council retreat topics. And we are having a retreat next week, Thursday, 11 to 5 and Friday, 11 to 1. So we have 7 hours.
Where are we retreating to?
We're retreating to a little island called the council, or to the Chamber of Commerce.
Sounds, very exciting.
Yeah.
Could be an island.
It could be an island, right? So, obviously, when we look down this list, we're gonna be out of time.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. That's just my thought. If you guys, disagree with me, I'm sure you'll let me know. So I think, I mean, the goal tonight is to try to figure out, what we're gonna tackle in terms of priority items and what might not be appropriate retreat topics, but more work session topics. And I know that we have had a couple of things that have been on agendas and we've moved them to retreat topics, for example, the TSP project. And so I mean, priorities. And I think, we've kicked that can down the road too much. That, to me, that needs to be one of the things we definitely tackle during retreat. Or does other people have priorities? That's one of my priorities.
I think the city values thing is a perfect retreat time.
Yeah.
Cause it informs everything
Right.
else.
Yeah.
What was your first item?
TSP.
Okay. And that kind of, I think can include some of the parking, attention things.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, so there's some things that will just on there from I was thinking, saying.
I think housing needs to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Discussion.
I really think we need to spend maybe 10 minutes on the elk.
On the what?
Oh,
Do you don't think that's a work session topic more?
Well, it could be, but I think it's really important.
I would, the only reason I would not wanna kick it to a work session is, cause I feel like for the last like 3 months, we've received quite a few correspondence, and if we kick it to a work session, we're jumping all the way to January, or if, I don't know if January's full enough, right? Possibly February.
Yeah.
That's kicking it even further down the road if we don't address it.
so as long as we keep it short.
I mean, if it only is just a short conversation
Yeah.
to come to an idea and then have a work session
And then
down the road about
actually
it.
have an idea of where we wanna head with it when we go to work session.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
At least then everybody knows that we're
Actually discussing it.
talking about it.
Right, okay. We will keep it short, so.
Which brings up structure and time limits on meetings. We're doing pretty good today. So maybe we're just working our way there, but, I would kind of like to briefly touch on that.
Okay.
There are times I would like to limit the presentations. That's sometimes the biggest time. And it's especially frustrating when they're given to us in advance and we all look at them and then we get them read back to us. It'd be nice if presentations were given to us in advance so that we could review them and there could be more of a brief, but I'm not sure how much time that whole topic takes.
And coupling that with the item packet submission requirements, I don't know which one of us tossed that on there, but structured time limits meetings, I think ties in pretty closely with packet submission requirements.
Okay, we do need to remember that those presentations are not just for us, they're for the community too. And so,
It's true,
We
we
have
have
to-
packets are online.
right, but but
Or summary, well, and we can talk about this,
Yes,
but
okay.
even. It's okay to summarize, just not verbatim read the packet, I think is
okay.
kind of that, yeah.
okay.
Well, we've got chamber contract revisions in here and. I think that's a broader topic, although I've been wondering what happened to that. We've made recommendations. Months and months ago. About both reporting and, about the. Increasing TOT, revenues that are going to marketing. But I think as part of a broader discussion of, the tourism restricted dollars. And there's, yes, so maybe instead of that, or in addition to discussion having TLT receiving entities, that's part of that conversation is actually having the Tourism and Arts Committee provide guidance for all of those projects. You know, including, the chamber, so I think those are part of one bigger conversation about how those monies are used and how the oversight is conducted on them. I mean, that took us the better part of a year to figure out where $300,000 in reserve funds were in the destination marketing fund. And of course, you know, we asked the questions in a quarterly meeting and then it moved on to the next quarterly meeting. And so I think, you know, our ability to provide oversight on those things is limited.
I think that I agree that these need to be talked about. One thing we have to remember with the chamber contracts and you be talking about TAC and the chamber and having them do things. The chamber has a contract with the city. And that contract can only be revised if both the chamber and the city agree. Or you completely have to dissolve the contract. And TAC doesn't have anything to do with the chamber or how this, so that would be something that the chamber board would need to decide if they would allow that, right? I'm kind of, some of this is kind of questions, but,
Well, Tourism and Arts makes recommendations to us about how to use funds.
well, sure. Well, sure, but the chamber works on its own. Right, and they don't have, I agree that there are a lot of places that the chamber is falling down. I don't want you to think that I disagree with that, but TAC and
I know exactly what you're saying, I agree.
are you?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I'm trying to have, no, because the chamber has a separate contract with the city, and I think that should be addressed separately from the overall picture of tourism.
Maybe it should be, but I don't think we should be making those decisions here. It's just that we're talking about a topic to.
I think those two topics can be pretty closely related to either concurrently discussed at the retreat or.
We can discuss both topics if we need.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that we haven't really ever, the chamber has come and presented, but we've never really had a conversation about. Like what I just said, there's this and this and this, as a council, we haven't had that conversation, so. It'd just be kind of good to know where at least everybody is and. But I agree with Lisa, I think we can talk about both of these things at the retreat. In kind of conjunction with one.
The one item about flower beds, I don't think is something that, should be a retreat topic. I think that should be a public works.
Agreed.
I agree.
Yeah.
So we took one thing off the list and over here.
We consolidate public parking.
That's right, okay, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're moving on.
And then I think the, responding to staff emails and the council duty expectations, are going to go hand in hand with city values. You know, how we work with city staff and our expectations of our duties should be part of our value. So I would put those up.
Yeah. I think, what about the restructuring of departments?
I
And
know
that could go to a work session.
yeah,
We can talk about
Yeah.
that maybe next year.
and again, I think that means some staff.
That's, that's the city manager I had suggested that as a discussion point. It's
Okay.
very clearly city manager's purview,
Right.
that thing, but I just wanted to have a discussion
So
about.
are you okay with?
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to get the wheels turned on having some sort of discussion on that.
What is the day-to-day infrastructure we can accomplish in 1 or 2 year spans? Not big spending in cases of a big one projects, maybe the exception of the First Street Bridge. What is that?
Who's responsible for that?
Maybe me.
Want to explain yourself?
And what's the question here? I mean, I think I can understand some of the concerns behind it. But
I don't necessarily know that we need to discuss it at the retreat, but I think I just kind of wanted to put it out there that we've had a lot of projects that we've been doing that are around the big one happening. And aside from the First Street Bridge, I think we need to look at some other things that we can accomplish in town that feel like and then I think that I think that went in tandem with the public parking and the flower beds, so it's just kind of like giving ideas. And it all kind of.
So,
I think maybe infrastructure priorities with First Street Bridge
Yeah,
probably being, at the top of the list. But I don't know if how much more is in that bucket?
Well, so there's one of the items that I requested, one of these, the master plans. Master plan discussions, the First Street Bridge, like some of those things, like the annual maintenance and stuff like that are in master plans, the respective master plans, so. I don't know how to.
So in that, would you like, department heads to kind of give us summaries of where they are in the master plan location and the plans and that kind of thing, or?
I would like that. I don't know.
We need.
Probably if everyone
Yeah.
doesn't want that, I can go individually.
No, I think that would be good knowledge for it, but we need, so maybe we could do that on Friday with our 2 hours. So that staff knows exactly when they need to be.
Yeah, that sounds good. So I guess what I want to see out of that is, what is kind of general, where are we at in the master plan timeframe?
Cycle.
What's the cycle for each one, and then what they view as priorities of getting done within it.
Okay, are we okay with that?
Harvey, what about infrastructure priority? Was that gonna just kind of fall under that naturally, or is that still on?
I think that will be addressed in the master plan.
Okay, and then we'll take that one up, and then I have a master plan on for Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
The last one that's on the list. Whose item is that?
mine,
Okay,
yeah.
so. We disrupted. So you wanna explain that one?
Yeah, I kind of have been feeling like, and I've gotten a lot of questions from people about how that whole appellate process works. Because usually when you have an appeal, you have someone representing, the appellant, which we always do, and they're usually if the appellant can afford it, then it's an attorney that they've hired and, experts that they've hired, whereas the other side, or the side that, you know, in this case, the planning commission made the decision, has nobody. Nobody represented, they don't have, you know, the city isn't gonna hire an engineer to overlook at their appeal and decide what they think we can afford to do that. So it's very uneven the way it is, and I would like to know, and I, you know, it seems unfair, actually, so I'm curious about how others, you know, how that works. It just doesn't seem to make sense to me. I mean, from an appellate perspective, it doesn't make sense. And then the findings and conclusions are written by the city attorney or the land use attorney. And oftentimes, I mean, they're really well written. And they say things that we didn't even say. As, you know, I mean, they go beyond what we've said. So that they can, pass muster at a higher level if it becomes necessary.
Right.
So that's another thing I understand, how findings and conclusions can express things that we never discuss. So I guess what I'd like to know is how that system works. And I think that everyone on the council needs to understand how it works, because right now, I don't know. And I used to be an appellate attorney, so, and I'm confused. You know, not in land use, but in a different field.
Yeah.
But still, it just, something is amiss there. And
So would that be a better work session?
I don't care where it is. I mean, it's an instructive thing that I'm looking at to get from our appellate attorney. Where we can ask her questions, she can explain how the system works, we can find out how it's supposed to work.
Can I, mention something, one of the things that, Missy had talked about was discussing a little bit more in details about what an on-record appeal means, what's allowed to be said, when it should be said, and so that could be something we can tie into both conversations. I have an overall discussion of that, that's something that is on the future list of things.
And that's great, that,
So that
I'm
would be
perfectly
good.
happy with that. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a retreat discussion. I would like to see it, I would like us to get educated by her about.
Okay, yeah, so if you guys are gonna do the future work session.
Yep.
Okay.
Something that isn't really covered here is, code revisions. And maybe we're all clear about those priorities because, you know, we prioritized the things earlier
Right.
for the code revision process, but feels like do we need to revisit that? Do we need to prioritize some secondary things once we're done with those main priorities? I mean, we've talked about a variety of code changes.
I feel like I'm not completely clear where the whole process is at.
So you think maybe revisiting all of the priorities, the housing, the streets?
A check-in of what we've done and what the expectation is going forward with what's potentially left of.
Well,
But we've also talked about.
Not necessarily the topics, but just what's left, like how long do we have earthworks, contract, what is there?
right now, we've been told quite clearly by both of our planning directors, the one who just reassumed the job, and our previous one, that the way our code is written is not clear and objective where it needs to be, and has some huge ambiguities in it that make it very hard to enforce, not just for housing, but for all kinds of things. And I don't know when that's gonna be addressed, so that is a good topic, because
Shoreline
when, where,
stabilization,
who is going to address it as well?
exactly, how are we gonna get it done?
Yeah,
Didn't it start, because it can't, it's not going chronologically.
No,
Right, it
No.
kind of can't.
right, it goes by topics.
It goes by topic
Yeah.
as needed, as emergencies arise.
Will Jeff be on site next week or?
Yeah, so he'll be in the office, starting Monday, I think he may even still be online right now. I'm not positive.
Yeah.
But one of the things we could do is, we haven't had a joint work session in a while, with DRB and planning because the focus has been on specialty items. So maybe after the new year, this is one where we get planning, DRB and council together, and Herb's work and Jeff, and we kind of get everyone back on track as a joint venture.
Yeah, DRB has talked about, signing code revision, it's just, I feel like we need those in front of us.
There's so many, obviously the shoreline stabilization, definitely.
Yeah.
That's heavy work.
Yeah.
So we have so many things.
So not a council retreat topic, but a joint session to be scheduled soon.
Soon.
So question then, so we're working on a date for the March housing work session, so that's kind of in the works. I think there's just a couple people we need to hear from, and we're gonna set that up. Is this something, no, you're good. Is this something we wanna try for in February?
Sure.
Okay.
Does that mean we're moving the housing discussion to that?
No,
No,
I think we should.
no, I think we
Housing
should.
discussion
We
Still
still
need to
need
be,
to.
we told everyone in the community we're gonna do it in March, let's stick with March. There were several days that everyone, for people who replied, there are a handful of days that work for people so far.
No, I'm talking about housing
No, I think we
as a
still,
primary
Oh,
discussion
we
at the
still need
retreat.
to talk about it at the retreat.
You
Yeah,
still wanna talk about housing at first?
and trees as well, housing, trees and wetlands is done. Those were the three things that previous council said were priorities. And so we need to discuss that, where we're going with that.
Knowing that we'll have a joint meeting in February and then in March, a joint meeting specifically for housing. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the plan, is to have a joint meeting in February, one for housing in March. So do you still wanna talk about it in retreat?
I think we should talk about it at some, I do,
bit.
I think.
Even
not
if we
now.
don't talk that long about it,
Yeah.
I really,
Yeah, I
we
think we
need
need to
to,
address it.
yeah.
Okay, so we'll add that one to retreat. Got it. So on my list, just because I got things in blue that are going elsewhere, things in yellow that are in retreat. The only two items that I don't have marked up are the committee, commission and board vacancies. That was actually from staff. Just to talk about, we have so many openings for a while there and we haven't had a lot of people coming in, so just more of a maybe aware of where we're at on that, and then conduct was the other item.
Are we talking conduct of us? We put that on.
I don't know.
I,
Was it you?
I'm always well behaved. What do you mean? I think the conduct will come in city values.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then, we don't really need to talk about the committee vacancy. Well, actually, I think we do, because in the committee vacancies, what's gonna happen is our public works committee in January will no longer be able to meet. Because we will not have a quorum.
We need to find.
So, yeah, I think if you guys are good, we should talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, I remember not long after I started here, we actually reduced the number of public works committee down to 5 because they were having a hard time getting people on it in order to meet. So if you guys are good, we can talk about that.
Yeah, just a brief discussion on how we can recruit.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so I kind of, based on your guys' discussion, we lump things in categories. So we'll just kind of put them on the list. I'll put them all on the agenda. We can go in whatever order you guys want.
Yeah,
That would be super efficient.
Yeah.
We'll do the meeting, this organization first, that way we have to do the rest of it.
We have a lot of Friday.
yeah, Friday, so that we have.
Yeah, so staff and plan, we'll ask staff who have master plans to come on Friday.
Friday.
And we'll shoot them, know we have the department meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
And then we've got all of the other ones, we'll just kind of. How about when I lay out the agenda, I'll email Barb and just make sure she's comfortable with the order, if that works with you guys.
That's fine with me.
Perfect, and then she'll say yes, we'll just kind of work our way from the top one.
Okay, and so Friday, we're gonna definitely do the master plans. We have 2 hours that day.
So why don't we plan on master plans first, so that we staff can plan accordingly, and on Friday, we'll be meeting, then it'll be done on Thursday.
Okay, so we'll list everything on Thursday and then move it over to Friday.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, everybody okay with that?
We're stopping at 1, but.
Yes, and it's
Okay, so next we have monthly status report. Anybody have any questions? Moving right along. No questions? Mayor communications, I don't think I have anything to communicate with all of you. Councilor communications?
I had, and I know that we talked about, sign code, and I know we've got some things that are on our list, but one of the business owners came in to talk with me and was cited for numerous violations, because of signage in her shop. I invited her to come and make a public comment.
You mean she was cited for?
Her shop.
Oh, her shop, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there's definitely issues with the some signage in town. And I think once we open that floodgate, I think there's gonna be a lot of people, I think after there was something that happened at a DRB mark meeting, there was a conversation, and now a lot of businesses are getting turned in for violations for signs. So, but I said that I would bring it up.
So remember, we asked the design review board to let us know what some of the issues are. And they haven't done that yet.
And they haven't done that.
Yeah.
So they need to.
But I think their issues were more outside signage and materials that are being used.
And this is outside and signage in windows.
Okay.
And I think from, people from DRB have come and spoken with me. And they don't feel that they're being given the opportunity to look at some of these applications that are being sent in. So. You know, if you've got a sign, an application that's been applied for, it's signed off on, it's XYZ, you know, all the inches, and then it says that the font is in 1 inch. There's just, which probably isn't the case at all, but these permits are just being signed off and is what they are, and then some of the signage is being produced differently than what it says on the application.
Yeah. That's one of the things we asked them to.
Yeah, window planes in windows, when are they okay, when are they not okay, what is essential, what's not essential? I think giving some more direction to, our businesses is a good idea. I know that, you know, if somebody puts in an application or they go to purchase a sign and the person or the company making the sign, so just is gonna handle everything. But then the business is held, their feet are held to the fire. If something is wrong with that, when they've entrusted themselves to have a local company, you've got several, there's 2 or 3 sign companies around, that deal with the city all the time. And so there's been some concern there. I mean, that was this business that came to me, said that, you know, she talked to the person who made the sign. They said the signs and the window planes and the things, and they said, don't worry about it. The city is, they're tabling these violations and then still trusting that person. So I had to go and say, no, you need to contact the police department and address these code violations. That's your job now. So, businesses aren't being given packets, from what I understand, and I could be wrong, but businesses aren't being given packets. New businesses aren't being given packets, that this is your responsibility. I got one, however many years ago, and when our sign was approved, we replaced one, we put a new sign out front. I went and I got my permit, I ordered my sign, I did all of the things. The gentleman, I don't know who it was, he doesn't work for the city anymore. Older gentleman, not very tall, anyway. He signed off on it, and then when my sign was when I got my sign put up, he came by and visited me and said, oh, everything looks great, and he had to sign off on it again, and from what I understand, that isn't happening either. So I had a permit that wasn't, that didn't need to be approved by DRB because of what I have listed. Pretty simple sign, but whoever it was from the city at the time followed completely through all the way from permit process to I hung my sign.
Some of this comes back to the signage code and, and then I think there are some issues with, staff maybe not really understanding the intent of our signage code. And I think, you know, reworking signage code and having everybody be on the same page as far as what we're trying to get out of it.
And I
Is
think,
a worthwhile conversation to have and maybe the process of package and approval and.
but not just about, but you know, I had the gentleman next to me, and granted, it was a couple of years ago, he opened his new shop. And he came to me and said, I've been collecting this food tax, but what am I supposed to do with it? So I'd even given a packet that had all that information in it, right? I was like, well, you have to file a report, you have to pay the city, and so.
Had he registered?
He didn't know. He didn't know, he knew he was supposed to collect the food tax, but he didn't know he was supposed to register. So, I mean, and that is, just because somebody can make a really good whatever, doesn't mean that they have all of that business active. They get bits and pieces of things from people, so it's not just about signage for the businesses, so I guess this is kind of twofold. I don't think the person that's being, these are signs that are violations that have been outlawed. So this isn't new, but I definitely think that we need to do something to help the businesses. Jen kind of poked her head around her computer. I didn't know if I saw a hand.
No, it's actually, let's see.
Oh, okay. You're talking about business packages. I know I got one. It wasn't big, but it was like, it was perfect. All the information there, it's just kind of.
Well, Jen, people get business packets anymore, or says something that was done and is now stopped, or? You know,
I don't recall anything happening. I've never worked directly in the front office on a consistent basis, but I don't recall things going out except for new people who move in and they get a water bill. But Tim can, when we get business license, is there any packet information that goes out anytime we? No. There's not.
so people don't get information about paying a food tax or anything like that?
Well, I'm gonna, like, there's a lot of things
Sounds
that
like
we
a
don't.
project.
You know, kind of like a food establishment, it's their responsibility to know all of the state laws. So it's also their responsibility to check with the municipality to see if there's anything that they need to do as well.
But I know I got a packet. Well, there wasn't a food tax, right, when
Right.
we took over, but.
There may have been like a sign packet online that if you want to put a sign up, there's kind of the information, something like that may have existed. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
I don't feel like that. Yeah, there was a lot going on at that time, but maybe there is something simple that could be put together, even just friendly reminders. You need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, here's a link, something that's all kind of grouped together, even if it's online.
Well, and maybe we can do something when we give somebody a business license, we can include a sheet that just says, hey, if you're this business, please check out this part of our website, or, you know, kind of ask the direction.
You need a sign to go here.
Yeah, like if you need, and, maybe it's something we can email, because then we have links in it. Just kind of standardize one PDF that we just email out to them to help give them some direction on which way to go. That, something like that would be, probably wouldn't take as much staff time once it's created, because you can just send it out.
Right.
And then you can mail their business license. Yeah. And then that way they have links, hey, if you're a food establishment, you may be subject to prepared food tax, click here.
Yeah, I think that's a
If you-
great idea.
If you wanna, if you are replacing or doing a sign, click here. You know, we can. Tim can work on something like that.
I just gave him that.
This is Tim guy.
I just- Hey, you in the back row. You'll get right on it, right?
Right on.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
We won't expect it tomorrow.
Oh, good. I hope so.
We'll give you the Monday. We'll give it. Okay, anything?
Can I just mention, real quick, the DR meeting is probably on me because I haven't done my minutes from the last months of meetings. And when I do my minutes, that's when I do a lot of my follow-up.
Right.
And so on that one, I would have emailed and everyone and said, hey, let's put this on, and I have not done it yet. So I will be doing that because the packet goes out tomorrow, so I have to get all the minutes done.
Okay.
So I'll send Jeff, and, you know, the planning staff will remind you that please have it to be discussed.
Good. Okay, good. Okay, anything else for good of the order?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, yeah.
Let's put it in order, but.
Good of the order is just with the council. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so this is I was not intending to respond to Mr. Bertolotti's 2 letters alleging I committed misconduct in regards to my communication with him after council meeting on September 2nd, 2025. But because he wrote 2 letters and because the fellow council members should have questioned what had happened there, I am advised to the city attorney, I'm gonna respond now. So
Okay.
she said this was the appropriate time to do it. On the evening in question, Mr. Bertolotti was talking and laughing in the audience during the council meeting, particularly when I was speaking. I was having difficulty hearing because of the noise he was creating. Our mayor, Barb, noticed it as well and voiced regret at not addressing it on the spot and putting a stop to it right away. After the meeting, I ran into him on the deck outside and told him in a normal tone of voice that I thought he behaved rudely and that he needed to develop some manners. I did not raise my voice. I did not use foul language. I was not fuming. I was not enraged. I was simply disappointed at his behavior and lack of respect for elected officials. He even acknowledged the conversation in his first letter. The only one who yelled was Mr. Bertolotti when he hollered at me to get a life as he walked away. In addition, he made numerous verbal and written allegations asserting that I was in violation of the open records laws and had conducted secret meetings to try and improve the tree code and the dark sky code. I refer you to the meeting of November 13th, wherein our city attorney addressed these issues. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything for good of the order?
Can I remind everyone, we do have coffee with the counselor, but it's no longer live streamed.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you would like to attend coffee with the counselor, you need to do so on Zoom during the meeting or attend in person.
Recorded either.
Yeah, it will not be
recorded.
recorded.
Maybe that's another retreat topic.
Yeah, because we're gonna have nobody there.
And other councilors, but we can't be on Zoom. Because
But yeah, we can't all
No,
Zoom
yeah.
in.
yeah,
So without Zoom, we're really not, you're saying if we can't have Zoom. you're saying that-
no, you can have Zoom.
Yeah, the council.
Oh, counselors.
And it's not gonna be.
So yeah, nobody can watch it afterwards and.
Right.
If they're
And then it's,
If they're council.
or do you
Oh,
find?
no,
Well, it's not-
no, well, it's not.
Because the recordings aren't tracked, so
Yeah.
they're only live streamed through Zoom in a way that's manageable to be able to document who it is watching, so we can ensure that there definitely doesn't become a quorum.
Right.
It doesn't become,
Yeah.
or myself viewing it.
I do find it unfortunate, though, that there's not a forum for a little bit more interaction with the community and when they want more information and being able to spend some time with them and answer questions and
The
just,
League of
it
Oregon,
feels like a loss.
yeah, the League of Oregon Cities is gonna address the issue with the legislature. Because they're the ones that are in charge of the, something.
So maybe we should have that conversation at the retreat, see if it's something that is worth continuing until that is resolved.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, because so many people I know actually.
Yeah.
Because they're working.
Yeah.
During the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So are we moving now on retreat? Because we did get feedback of what I did in November about not doing it.
I don't think it's gonna happen in this current session.
I think
So-
as soon as it happens, so we can definitely add it on the agenda item.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?